So a voltage V across a resistance R generates a current. So that's just Ohm's law. I'm just going to write that here for later. A constant voltage of 9 volts is put across a resistance that is increasing at a rate of 0.2 ohms per second. At this point, the resistance is 5 ohms, and the question is asking at what rate is the current changing. We can assume the current and everything else here are functions of time, so they change over time. Because they're functions, and because the question is asking at what rate is the current changing, we can actually take the derivative of I. So we can actually take Ohm's law here and just get the derivative of the current using the quotient rule. So R squared on the bottom, R on the top, V prime of t minus R prime of t times V. They actually give us the values for R, R prime, and V prime in the question. So now we can just start plugging stuff in. R is 5 ohms, and V prime is 0. This is because the voltage is constant. It's not changing at all. The change in V is 0. The derivative is 0. So that's 0 volts per second minus, they actually give us the change in R, it's 0.2 ohms per second. I'm going to represent that as 1/5. That would be ohms over 5 seconds. That's the same thing as 0.2 ohms per second, it's just written differently. And V is just 9 volts. All that divided by the resistance squared, 25 ohms squared. Because V prime is 0, this term actually cancels out, because anything times 0 is just 0. So we only have to deal with this term here. That simplifies to negative, and I'm going to split this term up into 2. So that's negative ohms times 1 over 5 seconds times 9 volts divided by 25 ohms squared. So now we can see that this ohm on the top is canceled out by one of the ohms on the bottom. This is now equal to, and since this is a fraction on the top, we can flip it onto the bottom and just make it a normal number on the bottom. So 9 volts over, so 5 times 25, 125 ohm times seconds. We see here that there's volts over ohms, so voltage over the resistance, and according to Ohm's law, that's just the current. This becomes amps, because that's the unit for currents, so 9 amps over 125 seconds. This simplifies, so don't forget the negative signs. Very important to know that the current is decreasing here. So that's equal to negative 0.072 amps per second. That there is the answer.